Sorry if I seem a little bit overly pumped and maybe a little bit confused, but it's actually not because of the product that I'm going to review today, but it's because of the MA750 Wireless that I've reviewed quite a while ago. It feels like ages. Because of comparison sakes, I took a listen at them again just to get a feel for them right before the review, and I have to say that even to this date, even though so much time has passed since then, this is still my most favorite Bluetooth headphone ever. So far, at least. I mean, I have to say this is the closest thing to sound signature, preference, perfection that I could wish for. It's kind of a dream come true. The sound is great, and it's so good. I mean, after that, I reviewed also the 650, which was kind of a cutback from the 750. I mean, it just can't reach this, I would almost like to say, unreachable level. But today is actually about this one here, the smallest brother of the MA Wireless series, the 390. And already the name makes you maybe feel like there is a difference, because 650 and 750 is quite close, but then it gets down to 390. Price gets down to 70 euros, and you definitely see a difference in terms of overall quality. I mean, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the quality of the 390. As you can see here, everything is executed very well. It looks still nice and sharp, but the 650 and here, for example, the 750 just look a little bit high quality, a little bit more premium. I feel feels better. For example, on the USB-C port, it is coated to get sweat proof, where, for example, on the 390 we still have a flap that actually protects the port. But it is still USB Type-C. That is nice to see. So overall, you see that it's just not quite the same level, but let's put that aside since this one is cheaper. But let's see if that cheaper gets you pretty much the same value. So what else is there to say? So the headband still feels good. We also get the pretty much same remote control, which is good because it works like this. Press it once, play and pause. Press it twice, then it's for the step forward, 3 times for the step backward. If you long press it, it's the assistant, and then volume control. So this works still nice, but for some reason I would still kind of wish for, if you already have a neckband, to have that integrated into the neckband portion itself, like for example One More does it. I mean, they kind of reserve the whole space for the battery, I guess, but still, that would be an option. But the execution here is still very nice with the metal. It's still magnetic, but it has no impact on the playback, so it doesn't play or pause it. And just for example, if you want to see a size comparison, the MA750 has a bigger chassis outside. It's bigger, but this here is a little bit more comfortable, so I'll get into that later on. Cable feels nice, but once again I have to say this, when you put it, for example, around the collar, which I'm not doing right now, the cable felt a little bit too short sometimes because it has to go a little bit of a longer route. If you go inside the collar, then things are fine, then it's long enough, and usually I had no issue. So the headband works absolutely fine. Now in terms of packaging, what we get here is the pouch, where you could in theory store them, but it's a neckband, so you don't really have to. And a bunch of tip sizes, so 3 different sizes, you get quite a lot of them. You don't get quite as many like on the 650 and 750, which also had an impact on the comfort and also fit and also actually sound, but you could kind of buy them if you want to. But I have to say that out of the box, these medium-sized ear tips already actually worked pretty much perfect for me. So let's actually put it on and let's talk about the comfort. Now, as I said, due to having the slightly smaller chassis, for some reason I can fit them easier into my ear. They are also, as you can see, super subtle. You pretty much see nothing sticking out. So if you want something super subtle, besides maybe the neckband, obviously, this is the one to go for. And I have to say that I prefer these in terms of overall comfort because they're just smaller, especially if you have smaller ears. This is an advantage over the 650 and 750, where I sometimes had an issue just not being able to fully have them inside for a longer period of time super secure. So these are still not super secure, and also the isolation, like on all the RHA, is not really all that strong because it allows you to hear still people quite a lot, even though you feel a little bit sealed off. It's, I would say, a decent isolation, but one I actually like because I can hear people quite a lot and the biggest amount of outside noises are gone. So that's pretty much already that. Let's get to the next part, which would be the controls that I've explained, but I want to get into, for example, things like Aptx, which is available here, which also means that I didn't see any perceivable amount of delay. You can watch videos without having some kind of synchronicity issues, which is super nice. And what is actually something that I've only seen on that level, like on RHA, is the super stable connection. I never, during my whole period, ever had one single cutout. I don't know how they do it. Everyone usually has a cutout. These don't have, and it's also good for quite a long range. Now about the background noise, that is something that I have to get into, because on the 750s there are a lot of complaints about this one, which I can't really see, because people told me maybe I don't hear it. I can definitely hear some audible background hiss on these ones. I would say up to maybe like the 4th or 5th step on the volume control, maybe if you use a phone or so. Obviously it depends on the actual content. So if you maybe watch quite low volume podcasts and so on, the noise here might be an issue. I don't have nearly the same amount of background noise on the 750. It's way lower, and there it doesn't bother me. But some people say that's the big issue. So if that is the same as I have, then the 390 I don't think are an option. Even though here, even for me, it's not an issue, because I don't listen at the 5th step. I usually listen like at 80-90%, which actually all brings me also to the volume. These I could listen all the time at 100%. So they are super close to giving me what I exactly want in terms of maximum volume, but I don't really have any reserves. That also is just something that I have to mention, because 95% will be fine. Only those people who listen super loud like I do, those might not be super satisfied. Otherwise, about the battery life, they claim 8 hours. What I got is about 6 to 7 hours depending on the volume, because if I'm closer to like 80, 90, 100%, I'm at around 6 hours, and if I'm like at moderate volumes, like at around 60% or so, then I got those 7 hours, so somewhere in between. Now about the sound, finally, let's get into that and start off with the sound stage and imaging. And here I have to say, considering the price of around $70, you get that kind of level, I would say, because it's a quite nice medium width, it's well defined. Voices feel a little bit in the background, so they take a little bit of a step back, feel a little bit further away, but generally everything is nicely balanced out. There is no weakness here, everything is well done. So for the price, absolutely fine job, but it's not really outstanding in any sort of way or shape of way. I don't really know. Okay, let's get to the sound signature. Here I have to say the bass is ever so slightly boosted, so it's not super like linear or neutral or something like that. The mids are a little bit recessed, and the highs, even though they have a little bit of a peak at around 2K, usually feel, for me at least, a little bit kinda held back. I think they could extend further, and they could be also a little bit more pronounced. But that also leads to one thing, a very well balanced mainstream sound. So these are, I would call them like absolutely non-offensive, because you can listen to them for hours and hours and hours, because they are never sharp. There is no sibilance and all and so on. So you can listen to pretty much everything for a long period of time, and nothing will ever be an issue. But therefore it also, I think, kind of lacks some certain sparkle. So let's get into the single categories like the bass. Sub bass is absolutely decent, does a good job, extends quite okay with quite enough force behind it for that price, obviously. Then the presence is good, but it's definitely not trying to do too much. It doesn't try to be too much in the foreground or so on. So that's not a thing. It stays where it should be. And in terms of the punchiness of the sound, I would say it's more of a thumping bass than of a strong, powerful, punchy bass. So it could maybe be a little bit tighter, a little bit more actually harder. It's more of a softer bass, I would say. In terms of the vocals and so on in the mid-range, very nice, no finesse at all, good body to it. I would wish for a little bit more clarity in maybe female vocals. There it just feels a little bit held back, which also has to do with the highs, because here I would have to say I could, like I said, definitely see them going further. I think they could be, in my opinion, actually even a little bit sharper. They sound a little bit, like, not muffled, but kind of like there is a little bit of a veil over them, which is just something that a lot of people actually seem to like, because it's just not shrill or something like that. I want that because it also gives me a little bit more details, or at least the feel of it feels a little bit more open. Because the good thing here is no sibilance or anything like that, but they could be a little bit more open, a little bit more airy, and offer some more detail, and that's especially noticeable once you would jump to the MA750. But when it comes to the genres, which music is good for, I would say this is pretty much a jack of all trades but master of none. It can do metal, it can do rock, it can do bass very good, ballads and also classical music, also podcasts. It does everything good, pretty good, but it stands out at no particular part, which brings me to the competition that stands out when it comes to the MA650 and even more to the 750 wireless. I mean, those are more expensive, I get that, but they are pretty much better in every single possible way, maybe besides the comfort, which I prefer on these ones. But otherwise, we have the one more dual driver, the BT ANC that I've reviewed recently. Those are way more treble-centric. Comfort was not quite that level, and battery life, they had more features though, so not really comparable, because those try to do one thing way more, offer more features and offer more highs. This is more of an all-rounder, I would say. And then if you want to go super cheap for a good entry level, I would actually have to call out once again the KZ BTE. Those are way more bass-centric, bass heavy, but a good bass actually. Definitely nice, mainstream all-rounder, very pleasant, but they just don't quite reach that kind of level. But now about the pros and cons to finish this video up. I like the comfort, that they are smaller, therefore the fit is good. I would really wish for that to be the case on the 750. Then they are very nicely mainstream sounded, very good overall qualities for the price, obviously. Aptx is there, and that is quite important for me. No significant flaws, maybe besides one, which would be the background hiss, which seems to be a big problem for many people. And even though I hear it here, it's still not a real issue for me, but I'm just gonna call it out because I know people are concerned about that. Then it could be a little bit clearer. There could be some more brightness. This is actually my main thing here lacking. It lacks the kind of something special that the 650 had in some way, but even more so the 750. Those had just way more details, way more clarity, a wider, way more impressive soundstage. Obviously they are cheaper, I get that, but I mean, if you consider 70 euros compared to 150 or 180 euros, whatever, or dollars, what they cost, the MA750, I think they are well worth twice the price, because you get so much more than just twice the price. When it comes down to these, I would say these are for everyone who wants a nice mainstream sound, who wants to listen to everything, doesn't really need anything particular to be good. He wants maybe something a little bit more subtle because they are smaller, but you sacrifice out on battery life, you sacrifice out on details and everything. So it is cheaper, and it is kind of a baby 650. But those two, the 650 and 750, just deliver you so much more that I would say, if you want kinda what you get here, I mean, just watch my 650 review and then the 750 review, and then listen to what I'm gonna say to you now. If you don't have an issue with the background is here on the 750, which I don't have, this is still the best neckband headphone that I could possibly imagine, just because it's so amazing. These here, these don't have quite the same level. Maybe also because of the name 390 sounds so much further apart than 650 to 750. So maybe that was already a kind of little bit of an indicator. So these very nice. These are very well balanced, very unoffensive. They do nothing wrong, but they just for this price can really stand out. Because I think for this price, if you're just looking for pure sound, maybe details, quality, and overall general attributes, you might find something maybe more suiting to you, maybe more spectacular, maybe something that fits you better. These, I would say, fit everyone, but they don't really do it particularly outstanding in some way, if you get what I mean. So not bad at all. But the problem is, once you've heard the higher ones, it's hard to go back. Okay, that would have been it. Until next time, bye.